Piano Quintet is a piece I was commissioned to write by Peter and Carolyn Dessel, and it was for the New Zealand String Quartet and a pianist. That pianist turned out to be Stephen de Pledge. And it was a couple of years before everybody got around to doing it. But the character of the piece is something that evolves very slowly from almost completely static music and accumulates energy, partly through interjections by the piano, partly through increasing rhythmic focus. One of the things I've been doing a lot in recent years is writing music that's rhythmically kind of diverse or fragmented, and which is then focused into some kind of metric thing going on in the music, and that kind of focuses energy as well. So you've got something that's floating and kind of vague, and then suddenly and you get a little splash of energy, like going from one atomic level to another in a scientific fantasy. And the other thing I'm interested in is making sure that as it evolves or unfolds, that there's a sense of connection in the short term, like from note to note or bar to bar, but also overall that there's a sense of growth and development. So it's, in some ways, it's kind of old-fashioned music. It could be the basic concepts that you'd find in Mozart and Beethoven are probably kicking around in some form or other. This piece came to life in a program that I had curated for Chamber Music New Zealand, and I was asked, the piece was going to be part of it, and then they wanted to do something else of mine that the New Zealand String Quartet had under their belt, so they did Variation 25, which was based on the Bach 25th variation of the Goldberg variations, and then I put in two composers that have influenced me a lot in recent times, and that's Mozart and Shostakovich. And for similar reasons, really. They're both pretty extraordinary composers who can work with minimal material and make it go a long way, and be also filled with ambiguity and humour. You probably find it hard to think that Mozart's, apart from the musical joke of Mozart, but I do find that his language is enormously flexible and changing in character a lot. I think in his case it came from opera, and his symphonic music evolved from that operatic world, so it's rich and diverse as well, and the Shostakovich thing as well. He's just an extraordinary person who can really go the distance. The other thing is, as I said, I would like the pieces to evolve over a reasonable time span. Shostakovich is the master of making things go a good distance very meaningfully, and that's why I chose them, and that's why I admire them so much. It seems to me that somebody like Schenker pointed out the fact that you can have longer time spans where, like, a tonic area is in control in the background of a whole lot of stuff that's happening in the foreground. It can be dissonant, it can be modulations to all sorts of things, and that a movement from that kind of larger tonal area to another, like, say, the dominant in a traditional context, is a meaningful thing. Not only at the structural boundary, but in the way that's behind the music as well. And that's something that music that doesn't have tonality has to kind of substitute for in some way that's meaningful. And a lot of the things that composers have done to create that substitute have been systems that you can't hear, that they're compositional tools for expansion and extension, but you don't really hear them at the same way you simply do with tonality, and that's one of its strengths. And certainly this quintet is not tonal, and in fact it does have a 12-note melody unfolding at the beginning. This was partly a homage to Peter Dessel, who is in fact Austrian, by the way. This is one of those things that sometimes a person might, like me, use as a trigger for the thought processes. But it's not 12-tone in any other sense. That melody occurs in different guises throughout the piece, and mostly in its slow ascending form. But it happens in many different ways, and that's part of the unity of the piece. But diversity as well, because somebody listening to it for the first time probably wouldn't pick those things up. It's not hitting you in the face and saying this is a good solid tune and it's coming back, hooray, hooray. Well, life's not like that, and neither is the music.
How does it feel to be a finalist?
Terrific. Yeah, absolutely amazing, especially amongst the youngsters. It's nice to be able to still make it, I guess you'd say. And for somebody who's a freelance composer, that it is very important to be able to draw a little bit of attention to oneself in this kind of way. Yeah, that's great.